I have been living in a small house for last 7 years, which is located on river edge. It's about 50 miles away from here. And when I searched my residential house 7 years ago, I learned that there are several different types of house. Some of them is colonial, bi-level, Cape Cod. So mine is Cape Cod. I chose intentionally because I have two daughters, and they are, one older one is high school age, the other one is middle school age. They got into adolescent, period. So the Cape Cod actually 2 bedrooms, first floor, 2 bedrooms upstairs, second floor. So they have their small living room space and bathroom. And we don't need to encountering, frequently. So I have my own space. They have their own space. And that's helpful, actually, in that, my daughter's adolescent age. Helpful for them as well as for me. So we need to keep some kind of independence. So that's my, intentional choice. So when I enter the main entrance door, there is a living room, and then next one is dining table and kitchen. And the basement, we have kind of a family room, space. I always keep clean status, entering door and living room, because that gives guests false impression about my house. But actual living place or actual frequent gathering place for our family is dining table, as well as underground, the family living space. So this house belongs to me. I belong to my family, and we have ownership. And I can change my home interior as frequently as I want, and I can change the color of where, and I can fix my home because that's my home, and I have ownership. I belong to there, so I can have a decision making overall my family business or my house. I think that's my comfortable place. So this image gives me what is the belongingness, as well as the comfortable place. So I reflecting this image of my physical home and compared to my spiritual home, which is Reformed Church in America. And I entered through the main door, and I received membership under Reformed Church in America. And I'm just thinking, where am I staying now? Living room? I can go dining room. Can I go to the comfortable space underground? And can I change any interior material over the denomination space? Or basically, I'm just thinking, I'm truly belonging into Reformed Church in America. And am I presence during the decision-making process? Am I truly comfortable as a member of Reformed Church in America, as an Asian, as a Korean woman, immigrant? That's my basic thinking about this topic. And my story is started almost 4 years ago. I came to North America as an immigrant family. And my first residential place is Piscataway. It's 10 minutes away from here. And I intentionally found a church, local church, that was actually part of a Reformed Church in America. That's a Korean immigrant small church, which shared the worship space in New Brunswick Theological Seminary. That's my first encountering with the Reformed Church in America. So later, I just enrolled New Brunswick Theological Seminary, pursuing Master of Divinity, and I graduated. And while I was in the program, I found my first ministry as a youth director in a local Korean church. And I started actually undercare process under the Greater Palisade classes. So later I just got ordained. In speaking of my own personal experience, I have been so much blessed because I got excellent theological education training in New Brunswick Theological Seminary, and also I have a good care under the classes. And I have a lot of advisors, counselors, and spiritual directors Reformed Church, from the Reformed Church in America. So it gives me a lot of nurturing systems, and it gave me a good opportunity to grow myself. And I thought I fully invited or embraced by Reformed Church in America. So now I am serving as a coordinator for Pacific Asian American Council, as well as I'm serving as a supervisor over the Global Mission Asia portion. So I am actually GSC staff now. That's my story. So I think I am actually good status as a member of Reformed Church in America. And next thing I would like to share about the local church, which has a different origin than white Caucasian Anglo race, and those are Pacific Asian American people, mostly. I think 95% of those churches are immigrant churches. So those members, church members, came from their original country, and they settled down in this country as an immigrant. So they have their unique, their churches, immigration churches have their unique functions and roles and natures. So ethnic immigrant congregation, they have actually two functions. It has an important, unique function of the maintenance ethnic identity and reproduction of cultural tradition for their descendants. The other hand, churches just help out facilitating Asian immigrants' adjustment, assimilation to the North American life. So that's a very unique two function other than normal churches in America. So overall, for immigrants and their children have a certain benefit from the church. That's why church is a very important center for their life. At the same time, immigrant church provide protection by giving a sense of belonging for immigrant youth and second generations who sometimes lacking parental resources, and that's why church is just giving them some kind of avoidance, some of destructive behavior, or their kind of marginalization from the mainstream society. So it has ethnic immigrant church has lots of unique function and role other than main churches. So to serve the needs of the immigrant population, ethnic congregation cannot simply operate the same ways like existing churches in North America. So that's why those churches, Korean churches, Taiwanese churches, Chinese immigrant churches, they sometimes not choosing mainline denomination. They just compose themselves, creating their own denomination. Sometimes they just, doing their own things, staying independent status. But in case Asian American or overall Korean, Japanese, Taiwanese, Chinese, those churches belong to mainline churches, mainline denominations. Sometimes that denomination is a hierarchical structure of authority. Those churches could have a considerable influence on a congregation's ability to adapt to the environment. So I can say positive influence from the denomination and negative influence from the mainline denominations. So positive is denomination can provide some kind of protection, and also giving the churches some kind of financial resource, providing some worship space, and also leadership or education materials for the ethnic churches. But those resources sometimes not fit into Asian context. And then negative influence is that those decision-making process within church influenced by the higher level of, for example, classes or regional synod or denomination. So it's influential over the church decision-making. So church cannot provide urgent need for the congregation. They need to wait, and classes procedure sometimes very slow. That's why church doesn't have much freedom to decide their own things. So that's a negative side. So congregation leaders may find themselves struggling to balance the need and demands of the denomination and those of their own congregation needs and demands. So both, I think, cost and benefit, in order to be in membership in mainline denomination. So for the denomination, actually have a same struggle. The presence of Asian American ministries may help fulfill the church's vision of multi-culturalism, multi-racism. Those are good, but there are other pressing issues on the denomination's agenda as well. So there are also costs for the denomination. And, both churches, Asian immigrant churches and denomination, both of them have cost and benefit. And therefore, congregation and denomination leaders face some kind of a difficult dilemma concerning, Asian American ministries as they try to balance the needs of the congregations as well as denomination. I just give you some more the mission issues versus and structure issues of denomination. So historically, as you know, the denomination, RCA denomination has, from its beginning, almost, I think, 400 years ago, had a particular model of new church start. So ordained minister go to some certain area and, within territory, gathered around, his evangelical efforts. And congregation started and grow, and then they became a local church. So that's typical model of new church start within RCA. And it's been working very well, but last, couple decades, the immigration community trying to get into RCA, it's different model. So receiving and adopting new immigrant church is a totally different model. That's why, that's why this new model of church growth is kind of challenging for denomination. So in New York area, New Jersey area, California, there is a dominant Asian population, and those classes located, covering those areas, the classes leadership has, challenges. So I can give you more detail of challenges. These already composed, already started with a pastor. Those congregations presenting themselves for the RCA membership. So how are you gonna do, the classes leaders reacting or responding those needs? And pastors often by vocational, they're not sometimes full-time because limited resource of immigration society. They cannot fulfill the denomination requirement. Insurance is big hindrance. And also the minimum wage standard for, classes standard. The ethnic churches cannot fulfill that portion as well. And language is big issue. And there are different cultural or leadership or, the church leadership understanding that exists over the ethnic churches. And then, pastors have strong power over the board, entire church businesses. And lay leaders sometimes have understanding of hierarchical leadership in the church. And membership gathered along line of extended family. Most of immigrant churches, they have their extended family together and they just join into the church. And gender role, especially recognition of a woman's leadership and women's role in the church is very different than existing RCA churches. And use of church life as both means of assimilating into the dominant culture and also as a means of retain the culture of origin. And they come for most part as congregations. Those congregations exist, but they don't have physical worship places. And they may draw membership from a wider geographic area than most classes. Sometimes, if your extended family living far away, but they join into the, different area because that's their second home. That's why these are kind of issues and challenges for the denomination. So therefore, the task is very high, and classes leaders and denomination leaders are not very equipped for accepting and receiving those leaders and churches. So that's a big problem. And if leaders are failed to dealing those issues, there is some kind of problem for ethnic churches as well as denomination. There is some frustration. Some of ethnic churches leaving the denomination and bad impression about the RCA. Those things happening everywhere. I can give you one example of best practice of classes. That's my classes. During 2004, the classes just realized and recognized their surrounding area, the dominant Korean population and many Korean churches. So classes would like to just actively receiving those churches and congregations. That's why actually there was my classes. I proposed a new step establishment. So these classes need a person who speaking, Korean and English, who knows the structure very well, as well as bringing some, Korean context into classes. So helping both of them. Easy way, providing easy way for the ethnic church, Korean churches, and easy way to receiving as a classes. That's why a Korean coordinator just created. And I just applied, and I serving that position for about 5 years before I came on board GSC staff. So that's the best, I think, a model of best practice, improving effectiveness of communication for both parties. And it is assisting the process, the classes procedure more easy for ethnic churches as well as classes. And, just creating some kind of programs and events under the classes. That's why frequent, encountering with, classes and churches. So that's, I think, a good example of classes active, intentional effort to providing some kind of belongingness and comfort for Asian community. My time is done. Yeah. So one more. I am actually serving denomination level. I think 37 years ago, the Council for Pacific Asian American Ministries born, actually. So 1980, June General Synod meeting just approved creating Asian Council. So now it's 37 years old. The Ella Campbell serving long time. I've been there about 6-7 years now. So we have challenges, we have still problems. We cannot solve all the problems, but we just putting effort, and we just trying to receiving more different race, different language group, and different ethnicity into denomination. So St. John's Revelation, all different tribes, all different language groups, all different ethnicities gathered together to praising God. That's your vision and my vision for the Reformed Church in America. Thank you.